How's it going, guys? So in this video, I want to review a LED flashlight. And this flashlight is made by a company called Wurkkos. And the model number is TD11. I've been provided this flashlight. They sent it to me for me to test and give an honest opinion. So that's what I'm gonna do in this video. And of course, it's a flashlight. So the first section, we're gonna just unbox it and take a look at some of its functions. And then, of course, the next section, I'll wait till the daylight goes away, and we'll take this flashlight, go out to my local soccer field, and then give it a test drive and see how far this thing actually shines on. And those kind of flashlights nowadays quite popular because I think they've been called the EDC flashlight, the everyday carry flashlight. So people supposed to carry this in their pockets, so they need to be really compact, and also they need to be rather powerful to give you an instant light boost in case you need it during your daily activities, right? So I'm gonna switch my camera angle, and we're gonna open up the box and take a look at the TD11 flashlight from Wurkkos. All right, so just switched my camera angle, and let's open it up. And this flashlight claims over 3,000 lumens of brightness. And I'm interested to see, or actually test to see how long does it last at 3,000 lumens, because that's an incredibly bright light output. Okay, so opening up the box, the cover tells you charging port, touch switch, tactile switch, and a mode switch for the flashlight. Welcome to the Warcoast family. Cool. Okay, instructional manual seems pretty big. Hopefully it's not too complicated to use. Wow. All right, it does come in a couple of different languages, and each of those languages is going to cover one single section, and a few more pages behind. Cool. All right, so obviously the first thing I'm going to do is actually read through the instruction, so I can tell you what exactly is going on in terms of, you know, the light and its functions, and then we'll go do some tests. You have a lanyard over here, USB-C charging cable, and the actual flashlight is right here. Packed pretty tight. And it's got a good heft to it. Feels premium, okay, definitely feels premium. It's a full metal body. All right, looks really, really nice. Here looks like you have a LED light strip over here for, I think, what they call the floodlight. So this is going to be a diffused light output. Here are the buttons. And right now, this is the locking function. So in the middle, I believe, is the lock. Over here is the tactile mode. And over here is the daily carry mode, I believe. There are more functions to the daily carry mode, which is going to probably enable this area of control. Okay, and I think in tactile, those buttons is all gonna just be controlling the actual main flashlight right here. So let's take a look. Looks pretty nice, and interestingly, from what I read from the spec, this is actually a glass lens, and you can see it's actually color coded, not color coded, but it's actually coded to increase light transmission, which is pretty cool. And if you know a lot of flashlights, it's going to have a plastic cover, and this one have a glass cover which is flat. And I think in terms of performance, this is going to increase the light output and also increase the distance that this light is going to project onto. You have a big clip over here to clip onto your belt or maybe put in your pocket, and that's pretty much there is. You have your charging port over here, USB-C, And this is rated at IPX6, so I believe it's splash proof. So you can probably use this in the rain. I'm not sure if you can drop this into water, hopefully not. But yeah, so it's kind of water resistant at the minimum. All right, so let me go read the instructions and I'm gonna come back and we're gonna take a look at the slide further. All right guys, so I kind of figured it out after reading the manual. So it's not terribly hard to use as a flashlight. In fact, during the use, I kind of got used to the shape of this flashlight. Again, it's really comfortable. The cutout over here for your fingers to hold is really nice. And also, the floodlight that they've designed, they actually made the panels recessed. So this area also provides a really good grip if you need to hold the flashlight in any direction. And even if you hold the flashlight like this with a little clip, you have an area that you can grip on. So in terms of holding this flashlight any way possible, it is really well designed in terms of easy to grip and also the portability. The battery life is about 16.7 or 1.6 thousand milliamp hours. And the actual battery life, again, is reasonable due to the compactness of the light. Obviously, if you use that 3000 lumen boosted mode, it's gonna die very, very fast. So I got this flashlight and it came at about 78% pre-charged, and I turned on the boost mode and there is a battery life remaining indicator over there. It told me in boost mode 3000 milliamp hours, 3000 lumens, you only get 4 to 5 minutes at about 75% battery life. And that's a reality of extremely bright flashlights. It can only last a couple minutes if you need to use it in an emergency situation. Now, granted, really, if you're out and walking, you don't really need 3000 lumens, for an extended period of time, right? Most reasonable lumen rating for a flashlight, again, for cycling, it's around 250 to 600 lumens, and the 600 is, again, on the bright side. You don't really need that bright of a lumen if you're just walking around. In that regard, this flashlight should give you at least 30 to 50 minutes of actual usage with a reasonable lumen rating once you adjust to a desirable lumen rating. Okay, so that's a reality of those pocketable everyday carry flashlights. Just don't expect getting one of those that's rated at 3000 lumens to use it for over 30 minutes. It's just not possible. For this flashlight and also for every other flashlight that advertises this kind of brightness. Okay, so the great thing about this flashlight is that besides that 3000 lumen boost, it's got a gazillion of other kind of useful features that will make this a great everyday carry flashlight. Okay, so next I'm gonna just really quickly demo some of those functions that I think is gonna be useful for everyday use. Okay, so first obviously is that advertised 3000 lumen tactile super bright use. So you can access that very quickly in the tactile mode, which is if you put the switch over here into tactile mode or spotlight mode, you can access that by full pressing this little button. So if I'm half pressing, it gives you a 10 lumen rated everyday use light. It's useful for finding your keys and things like that. But if you full press this, okay, it's got 2 levels. So this is a half press. Wow, this is a full press, incredibly bright. I cannot look at that reflection when I full press this light. Okay, it's just way too bright. And it's also gonna be dangerous if I show you this straight on. It's just so bright. This is probably best demonstrated outside, okay, not inside. But when you half press, okay, it gives you an indicator that tells you the current lumen rating, which is at 10. It also gives you the battery life remaining, which is at 32 minutes at 10 lumens. And it also tells you the current battery is at 70% charged. Now, I've played with this for about 5 minutes, and I used that 3000 lumen boost for a couple times, and I used the floodlight a couple times, used RGB mode a couple times. The battery dropped about 10%. Okay, so less than 10%. So that just tells you how quickly it drains battery life if you use this at full brightness or really bright settings. So that's tactile mode. If you double press, doesn't happen. Okay, so over here, there is no double press function. There's, in tactile mode, it's mostly just about pressing and have the light turn on. So you can also press this. If you press this, they call this soft touch. If you press this, it goes into a really bright strobing mode in tactile mode, okay? So that strobe is also being emitted at 3000 lumens, extremely bright. But that's tactile mode, which I don't think anybody is gonna use this as often. Most people is gonna either have this turn off, okay, in lock mode or in everyday use mode. In the lock mode, you press any of those buttons, it's gonna tell you, it's in lock mode, unlock it. But also, if you're in lock mode and you really need to use the light, okay, you do the soft touch, it will turn on this 10 lumen, which is gonna be same as in this mode, okay, for you to use in a temporary situation where you're in the lock mode. You need to find your keys in your car or whatever, like looking for things in your car, okay? So those are the two functions in tactile and in lock. And that pretty much concludes those two functions, okay? Where it's gonna be most useful is gonna be in the everyday carry mode. And next, we'll explore the everyday carry mode and some of its functions within this mode. All right, so after the last section of the video, I actually went over and I fully charged the flashlight, and I've used it for a whole day, just carrying it in my pocket when I went out on the weekend to go visit some museums, go have some dinner. And the flashlight sit in my pocket for a good chunk of half a day. And here are some of my findings and also the proper use of the flashlight and some of the functions of the flashlight that I'm able to now really confidently demonstrate to you guys. And again, I'm gonna switch my camera over to the flashlight so we can focus on the light. All right, so it looks like we'll have to review this light with my cat, Sesame, over there. But the flashlight, the most important button, I would say, is in the front, right above the OLED display. Okay, so again, as I mentioned, three functions. Over here, you have the tactile mode, which is on the left side. You have the lockout, which is at the middle. And you have the everyday carry functions. Now, if you have this light in your pocket, my best suggestion, and the first thing you should do before you put it in the pocket, is switch it into the middle lockout mode. When you switch to the lockout mode, the LED light will not function for the most part. The only time it's gonna function is this mode, is if you long press the soft touch button. Okay, so if you long press it, it opens up the 10 lumen front LED display. And that's the only time it's gonna work. The moment you lose it, the preview of the 10 lumen light disappears. Even if you press this, the main round button, okay, the double press button, it doesn't do anything. It's just gonna tell you you're in lockout mode. So that's a function over here. In the tactile mode, you have limited use of those lights, but Again, if you press the soft touch button, it's gonna flash the floodlight. Actually, I was wrong. It's actually flashing this at 3000 lumens. Okay, and there's another interesting feature that I need to talk about, which is the automatic brightness reduction mode. So if you're flashing and it's in 3000 mode, if you put your hand over here, it detects your hand and it immediately lowers the brightness to 55 lumens. Because with that 3000 lumen illumination, it's extremely bright and also it heats up really quick. Your hand over there is gonna get burned if the light doesn't know your hand is there. So it's got a little sensor over here in the front, which is really nice. Okay, so once you put your hand over here, it immediately reduces the brightness immediately, okay, which is a really nice safety feature, and I love that. Also, in the tactile mode, if you, again, half press, that's the 10 lumen. Again, 10 lumen is really, really bright in the evening time in total darkness. What's that sound? But if you press, if you do the full press, it goes into the super bright 3000 lumen mode. It's really, really bright and it's hot. Like I could feel it here. It's burning, okay? To prevent the hand from getting burned, if you're in that 3000 lumen mode, if I put my hand over here, it immediately, again, detects your hand is over there. It reduces the brightness. Even if your hand moves away, it stays in that brightness, which is really, really nice, okay? If you loosen or if you release the button and you press again, of course, it goes into that super bright mode. Again, safety feature, built-in, really, really nice. Okay, I like that safety feature. Now that pretty much covers the tactile mode. The tactile mode, you have this really bright flash, okay? And that's from the soft touch button. Other than that, it doesn't do anything else. So for this tactile mode, it's not as useful as, say, if we switch it to everyday carry mode. In everyday carry, this flashlight's features are all enabled. And that's when you take it out of your pocket. So usually if it's in your pocket, put it in the lockout mode. When you take it out of your pocket, use everyday carry mode. And if you press the soft touch, okay, you just lightly touch it, it uses the floodlight. The floodlight brightness is fully adjustable. You press, okay, it's gonna go bright. You press again, it's gonna go light or dark. The lowest mode is 3 lumen in the floodlight output. And again, right now it doesn't seem like much, but if you have total darkness, even the 3 lumen is gonna illuminate the road. And guess what? In 3 lumen mode with 59% battery, you can run this for 30 hours straight. And that's pretty amazing in terms of battery life, right? If you really need that super bright flood mode, you long press, adjust the light brightness, you get to 350. In 350 lumen at 59% battery life, you can use it for 31 minutes. So when it is fully charged, you really need this super bright, floodlight. You can use it for almost an hour, okay? And this is the flood mode. And again, it's fully adjustable. And again, in my actual use, in total darkness, you don't need that full brightness. Sometimes, with a 50 lumen flood mode, it's bright enough to illuminate the entire floor when you are walking around at night, okay? And for that mode, you can use it for hours, which is great, okay? So let's see, at 50 lumens, I can use it for 3 hours and 30 minutes with 59% battery life. So that translates to more than 5 hours at 50 lumen for the floodlight. Really, really nice. So let's turn off the floodlight. To turn it off, you just press once, floodlight is off. You can go into RGB mode by double pressing the soft touch button. You double press, it goes into RGB mode and it remembers your last setting of the light, of the RGB light. So in my last mode, I put it into red mode. So it is displaying red. And if you turn it off, you double press, it remembers the last mode, which is really nice. If you need to change the color of the light, you long press. And if you long press, it starts changing color. And it will give you this ST stage. You just need to remember this number. If you really like this particular color, remember that number. Next time you can toggle to this mode by going into this number. So I pressed once to turn it off. I pressed twice to turn the RGB mode on, and it remembers the 353 stage. Okay, and again, if I need to change the color, I just long press. It changes the color. It can toggle through a complete light spectrum, which is around, I think, the 700 some spectrums of light available. So 679, this is close to blue light. 728, this is really blue. 764, even more blue. And yeah, around 760-ish different colors. At 25, it's kind of going to purple mode. This is like purple. And sometimes if you press fast enough, it goes the other direction. Okay, so this is magenta. And if you doesn't press fast enough, it just goes up to the, it goes to the plus mode. If you press within the last press fast enough, it goes to the previous, or it like goes down. This is how this light works, and it kind of makes sense. And the more you use it, you can get familiar to the behaviors of the design of the light very, very quickly. I was able to get familiar with all the functions within just half a day of use out on the street, and then just staying here and like playing around with it. So again, I can turn it off, and next time I turn it back on, it remembers the mode. If you press 3 times, it goes into this special mode. So this is flashing, and if you're going through this mode, it's like the police mode, which is like mode number 2, which is kind of fun. So in this triple press mode, you have a few different kind of like flashy features. And this one is like the gradient of all the light colors, which is kind of nice. And again, this is really bright, by the way. You press 3 times, it goes to the number 4. And again, this like changes colors. The 5th mode, a gradient light change, and number 6 is kind of goes dark and bright, and number 7 is this kind of like just some flashy, I would say useless features, but it is there. So those 7 features is you access by pressing 3 times, and again, this is really flashy, cool to have, but I don't really find any useful features in this like custom functions, but it is there. So it's got like total of 9 different functions. Okay, and we can turn that off. You press once, it turns off. It probably defaults back to the last mode that you were in, which the last mode was the RGB color, and I press it again to turn it off. Okay. So again, I don't really use RGB mode that much. For me, everyday carry, most useful mode is the floodlight, which you just press once to turn it on, press once to turn it off. Really, really nice. Again, flashlight mode is right here. You press once, it remembers the last lumen you set, kind of like the flood mode. And you press once to reduce the light. You press another time to increase the brightness. By the way, this light is, this flashlight is really, really bright. Really, really, really bright. You can make it so bright that nobody can, can open their eyes when you're shining this light onto them. And remember that safety feature, immediately you put it here, it reduces that brightness to 55 if you're too close. And the light brightness is above, I would say like, let's see, probably 500 lumens maybe. Okay, 400 lumens, it reduces the light. Really, really nice. I like that feature. You press once, you turn it off. You press another time, it turns back on to your last defined light mode. Again, if I put the hand here, safety feature kicks in, super nice. Turn it off. Or if you don't turn it off, you press a soft button, it goes into that mode, and you press this button, it switches between those two modes. Okay. So here you go. And you press to turn it off. And in everyday carry mode, the long press kind of just does the light adjustment, okay? Actually, the long press doesn't do much. It's like the half press that's kind of works. So yeah, I haven't found the use of the long press in everyday carry mode or like deep press, the double press. There's no function that I can see. I guess you press twice, it goes into this flash mode. So it's got a couple of different settings, SOS, like different flash patterns. So again, that's like deep press for those light functions. And you press again, it goes back to the regular flashlight mode, and that's back to your everyday carry options. So this is all the functions there is to this light. And what I find useful or kind of nice, I don't know if I mentioned early in the review, is that this kind of area is recessed, so it won't be scratched that easily for the floodlight, as well as the glass element in here, because they all have a deep groove outside. And also those grooves also helps you carry it and grip it really nicely in multiple locations. So I really loved having this light in my pocket when I'm carrying. I just want to touch it. Like, it's really nice. It's got a good weight. I would almost say this almost feels like a fidget that you want to hold in your hand and play around with. In that regard, it is really nicely designed, okay, the TD11. And one small issue that I have when I have it in the pocket is I forgot to turn it into the lock mode, and I was having the light in everyday carry mode, and I was in my pocket, and those buttons are really easily pressed, okay? So without my knowledge, I had it in my pocket, and then I had my floodlight on, just like in my pocket. And as you know, there's no proximity sensor in my floodlight, so it was just kept turning on. And when I touched my pocket, it was really hot. And that's what happened. So this floodlight still generates heat, and the heat gets spread out by the big aluminum heatsink block. So my pocket got really hot in that mode, in everyday carry mode, without me realizing it. So after I realized it, I put it on the lockout mode. It never happened again. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. When you have this in your pocket, just always make it a good habit to put it in the lockout mode, okay? So don't put it in any other mode. I mean, you could put it in the tactile mode, because unless you press really hard to get it into 3000 lumens, if you light touch it, it won't happen, it won't do much. And if you full press and it's in your pocket, it's gonna, have that safety function, so it's not gonna go too hot if you just accidentally touch it in the tactile mode. But I would say, best practice, everyday carry, leave it in lockout mode, okay? So that's just one small nitpick that I found. Unfortunately, if you leave it in a different mode, it doesn't detect, it's a different mode and it's in your pocket, it will still generate heat in your pocket and drain battery, okay? So other than that, this is all the function there is to this, the Wurkkos TD11. And again, I love this flashlight. I always keep it next to me, like since I've owned it. So this is a really nice widget and it's a great gift, I guess, if you're a lady buying it for, you know, your husband, your boyfriend, your partner. Really nice to have thing to have either in your pocket next to your, you know, if you go out, take it on the nightly walk. If you're running at night, have this, just turn on the floodlight when you're running. Or just, you know, especially if you live in a remote region, have this when you're out. It's really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. Yeah. So that's all I want to say in terms of like my impression of this flashlight. And again, in the last section, I'm gonna take it outside and just demonstrate to you how bright this light is. And it might be hard to show on the camera because the camera always adjusts to the brightness automatically. So regardless of how I put it in terms of brightness, the camera might just show you a consistent light output. So it might be hard to show, but we'll see. But let me just tell you, and take my words and trust my words for it. The light is bright, very bright in darkness, in pitch darkness. You don't have to crank this light all the way up to see far away. Like this light is more than enough. If you're just using it at even 300 to 400 lumens, it will be able to illuminate areas far, far away. Like 3000 lumens is really overkill. I don't know, in any situation you might want to pull out 3000 lumens, but it is there. But for most use case scenarios, like 50 to 300 lumens is all you need outside. And for the floodlight, 3 lumens to 50 lumens is all you need for the floodlight on the side. All right, so there's our cat over there. The light is bright. This is only 250 lumens. And I need to get him out of the street. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Try the floodlight. Let's go off the street. So the floodlight right now is at 71. This is, again, just like your standard brightness for most of the folks. What do you guys think? I need to kind of adjust the brightness a little bit. This is 3 lumens, so not sure if you can still see it, but you can use it for a read, and it's gonna last you 65 hours in this brightness. Okay, we can get it to brightest setting, 350 lumens on the floodlight setting. Now it's really bright. Okay, you can see the shadow casted. All right, pretty nice. You press once, turn it off. Press twice, press once, turn it on, and long press, adjust the brightness. I think for floodlight, at this kind of, you know, neighborhood streets, like 70 to 100%, you can definitely walk very safely and see everything in front of you, right? It's got a very wide coverage in front of me. If we use the spotlight, obviously coverage is going to be limited, but you can project much further. So let's try the spotlight. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Turn on the spotlight. And right now it's 250 lumens. Okay, even with 250 lumens, things that are like 1,000 yards away can be illuminated. This is like just as bright as my scooter light, to be honest. Okay, and you can see the light throw is not bad. It's got a nice diffuse around the spotlight. Okay, nice diffuse. Again, this is 250 lumens. It's not even half brightness. Let's turn it to 1500 lumens, which is the half brightness. All right, so 1500 lumens, super bright, super bright. Okay, definitely brighter than a highlight, like high beam. And in this mode, you can use this at 1500 lumens for 24 seconds fully charged. Amazing. And this is just too bright to shine directly in front of you. So if you're using this mode, you are probably looking at stuff really far away. I'm gonna turn it down from 1500 to like maybe 500 lumens. Still very bright. At 500 lumens, you have over an hour and 15 minutes of usage from pretty much fully charged. Now, just from trying that 3000 lumen and 1500 lumen, my battery percentage dropped about 4%. Okay, so if you're using that super bright light, this light is gonna die fast. But if you're not, this is a great everyday carry light. And I'm gonna use it at a comfortable brightness for walking. Okay, which is at about 130 lumens. And I can just hold this in my hand and start walking around and still be able to see objects in like close to medium distance very nicely. So I'm already pretty impressed with the light output of this light. I would believe it is the light output of 3000 is probably as advertised, but again, I would never use that brightness because it just drains batteries too fast. Okay, I would totally use this light between the lowest setting up to maybe around 1000 lumens. Those settings all will give you over an hour, at least an hour of usage. And for that, this light as an everyday carry light is quite reasonable in terms of battery life. Okay. And for the floodlight, again, useful for really close distance, like if you're in a tent, this is a nice light throw in the tent for camping. And if you're just doing activities around your tent, use this instead of the spotlight. It's more practical. Okay, turn it off. And you can seamlessly switch between different modes. So if you need to check out something far away, yeah, check it out. And when you finish, just press the other light and it switches to this mode. So very practical light. And great for just a small walk outside after dinner, right? And also great for carrying in the cars. If you're going to any kind of activities, you know, in the dark, this light will be immensely helpful. So this street is a great illustration of how far the light can project. I'm right now at 670 lumens, okay, with a 50-minute battery life, and this is already super bright. For whatever that you need to see, this will illuminate everything that you need to see. Now if I go to 3000, this is 3000. You don't really gain much. It's just slightly brighter. Okay, so again, it's really not worth it. And for actual use, I would say, yeah, under 1000 is probably good. And the 670 is already too bright for my personal taste for walking around. And I would probably keep this at a comfortable 100 to 200 lumens, which is what is illuminating right now. Okay, and don't forget that super useful function to prevent you from getting burned, which is if you put too close at a brightness that's too bright and too hot, the system will automatically dim the light for you so you don't get burned, which again I think is a really cool function to have in any kind of flashlight that at certain settings generates a lot of heat. Okay, right, so this is at 150 lumen. Okay, I prefer to have this brightness walking around, and gives you 3.5 hours battery life. As I'm playing around with this light, I used about 23% of the battery. This is what, like a 15-20 minute walk. So yeah, I'm impressed. Again, if you don't use the full brightness of this light, it will provide you with hours of extremely useful light source and also floodlight options. All right, guys, so I am back for the final conclusion for the Wurkkos TD11 flashlight. And how do I think about this flashlight? I am actually still very impressed after having been using it for over a week. Almost every day I touch this flashlight, and I want to use it in the evening when I go out, take a stroll around the neighborhood in darkness. It just feels like this has become a indispensable tool anytime the light goes out or anytime the sun sets. I want to have this flashlight always with me just because it's so much fun to use, okay? And it's got so many different modes that it almost feels like a fidget. It's like a toy that I always want to keep around and use and press the buttons and, you know, push the switches back and forth. It is addicting. And now I kind of understand why EDC flashlights has been popular among a lot of guys, because I've seen some of the coworkers on campus always just have a flashlight in their pocket. Now I understand why, because again, especially for a very well-designed light, I mean, the Wurkkos TD11 is one of those examples. This whole thing just feels great to hold at every angle. And again, I know I'm coming back to state about those things, but those things really just comes to mind when I hold this light. It's fun, it's light, it's easy to carry, and it's very easy to use. So that's my takeaway. Again, TD11 from Wurkkos. If you are considering buying one of those for yourself, it is a great light to buy. Battery life is great, and function-wise, it's got pretty much every function that I can think of that might be used in the darkness. And it's not terribly expensive, because right now, around the Cyber Monday, whatever, November of 2025, this thing is going for sale for around $69. And I know those like well-designed flashlights are not cheap. Usually, if they're not on sale, they're over $100. And if you're a lady looking to buy your guy a great gift, if they don't have an EDC flashlight, the TD11 is a great option to consider. Okay, so I mean, feel free to do more reviews, to do more research on those flashlights. But from me using this for a week, I am impressed. So I'm gonna make my conclusion here. And yes, I would wholeheartedly recommend this flashlight to anybody looking for a lightweight, powerful, and highly customizable flashlight for everyday use. All right, so thanks again, guys, for watching. If you're interested in more gadget reviews, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will have more videos coming out for you guys.